Hello, everyone. This is Akata. Thank you for joining us in today's episode, The Rose of Venus. Today we have our special guest, Kimberly Millstone, who is an intuitive life coach and writer. We will talk about her new book later on. And she is also a fellow astrologer who is doing the Galactic Astrology course with Julia Palaz at the moment. So let's begin. Hello, Kimberly. How are you?
Hello, I'm so great. Good to
Yeah,
be here.
thank you for coming. So,
Thank you for having
Kimberly,
me.
yeah, why don't we begin by telling us a little bit of this interesting intuitive life coach, what it is, and how you connect this work with astrology?
Yes, I would love to. So I started coaching about 9 years ago. And within the first year, I started receiving information about my clients that I shouldn't have known. They had never spoken about these things or talked about them with me. And so I realized it was this process of coaching was opening up my intuitive abilities and my channeling abilities. And so that was a little nerve wracking at first. And it was a path for me of growth, just as much as I was learning in our coaching sessions. So were my clients about what was possible to know about from your higher self, really, and what your higher self is interested in for your life path. And as I went along, I was also very interested in the moon cycles. So I started holding classes and moon circles. And my coaching clients would come and we would sit around and we would learn about what the energies were for the next month. And the deeper we went into this work, the more I started to see as they were offering their birth charts to me so that I could help them with the moon cycles. I was starting to see the patterns of the things that we were already working on in their birth charts. And I recognized how powerful the birth chart was as a tool to help people with their evolution and what their soul actually wanted them to know about. And so that began my deep dive into studying astrology. That was about 5 years ago. And it took me about until a year and a half ago, really, to come out fully as an astrologer, to feel confident that I could call myself that because I wanted to do the profession justice and represent it well. And so in that process, it's just been this wonderful combination of intuitive guidance connected with the birth chart as the doorway to that. And so, yes. And so now mostly I just work with astrology and I write about it and receive those energies so much easier than I did before because I've devoted myself to focusing there.
Yeah, I confirm the writing of Kimberly is very interesting. That's how I get to notice about her, of her very personal interpretation. It's not something like from the computer or what else. And I find great insight in her messages. And I think that point you were talking about with the natal chart that give us a lot of insight of a person's life, and that is very intuitive how we receive messages for each of our clients. And I think that is also very much connect with our galactic astrology as well, because like at the end of the day, we are doing the same thing, just adding in the galactic part of the
Mhm.
soul journey, not only of this lifetime, but all the other lifetimes before
Mhm.
us. How do you
Yes.
find it so far with the course?
I am just really getting into it, but it's very much opening possibilities of understanding ourselves on deeper levels, and also just knowing that we are so much bigger than what we realize ourselves to be. We have so much wisdom that we carry within us. And I think having these readings really helps to unlock these parts of ourselves that we already have that are lying dormant within us, but it's like turning a key and all of a sudden we see ourselves in a much bigger light. And it's a really beautiful process.
Mm-mm. And I think each of us, within our energetic field, we attract certain type of clients to us, right? So my clients have certain characteristics. And what about yours? That they come to you mainly for a certain type of assistance?
Yes. It is very interesting how you start to see trends on the work that you speak to the most. And for me, I've noticed that people are wanting and yearning for self-love. They want to know how to love themselves in a greater capacity. And it's hard because we aren't really taught this in our society yet. It's not something that is passed down from generation to generation yet. And this is what I'm seeing on the planet is that chain wants to be broken. And we want a fresh start to be able to know ourselves from our heart and to live from this place of loving ourselves deeply so that we can therefore have so much overflow to love of other people. And there are things that are challenging for people that are literal blocks to that self-love. And so we work on that and we look for that in the chart. And once the key is turned, it becomes so much easier to see yourself in a more compassionate light and to find more joy in your life.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think when we do the quantum soul guidance session, that even without wanting it, healing, the internal healing of our inner self is part of the process.
Mhm.
And it's not only the session itself, it's what afterward, how we integrate what we just heard and how we understand the reason what has happened to us.
Mhm.
And I think
Yes,
that is one of the most in beautiful parts of of our work. Yeah, of
I
our
agree.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I think also like after sessions or during sessions, it gives us clear idea as to how to move forward and how do you like connect astrology with a future path in ascension.
What I love about astrology and connection with ascension is that broadening of our minds around what's possible. And to me, ascension is learning to raise your consciousness to a higher perspective, to not be trapped in our small human mind, but to access the greater intelligence of the universe. And the birth chart is a portal to being able to do that. And it really does grow our sense of what's possible in this lifetime and also helps us to release the small worries and the small ideas of what we're here to do because we are so much greater and so much bigger than what we believe ourselves to be. And I believe that is also a part of ascension is recognizing our divine inherent worth and then bringing that out into our lives and sharing that in a more, joyful and loving way. So it's a beautiful combination to put astrology in that context.
Yes, yes. I am personally, I'm a lover in looking at the nodes, the north node, south node,
Mhm.
and how our past life and our future directions. And yeah, it gives so much information. And
Yes.
sometimes I think the general public still have this very limited understanding of astrology and
Mhm.
mm, yeah, and which is so much more, so much more. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, Kimberly. Now I would like to dive in to your new book, which I have bought yesterday. I still don't have time to read it yet. So the book is called Shaman Heart, Sacred Rebel. And that is you together with another 24 authors talking
Mhm.
about the path of healing. And yeah, tell us more about it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for asking. The book is written by regular people. These are not people who went to college, to get English degrees per se. We are just real people speaking to our own paths and our own challenges that we have worked through in our lives and the solutions that we've found along the way. And the book really is a very vulnerable um, exposure into people's real lives. It has many stories that most people are afraid to say out loud or talk about. And the truth of the matter is that we're all walking around with these types of stories within us, and we're afraid to be seen for for who we really are and what we have actually experienced and lived through. And the book is really an invitation to release shame, to release judgment on our fellow, you know, humans, because we are all doing the best we can and we're all searching for ways to move towards the light, really, and to become more whole and free from these lower expressions of ourselves. So the book is written in a way that hopefully others will see themselves in some of the stories and recognize that they're not alone and that there are ways to navigate the challenges that they are going through, to find a way to have a more joyful life.
Yeah, I think this healing path sometimes just so painful. And I don't know from where people, when they say when they think of ascension, they think about bliss, happy, joy all the time, which is totally not true.
No.
I personally gone through so much pain myself, and and I think that is beautiful. People that bring out their vulnerability to
Mhm.
show to the others it's okay to be vulnerable. And I think actually the
Yes.
vulnerability itself is the strength.
Mhm.
And
I agree.
yeah, so thank you so much. And would you like to talk about your personal story in this book? A little
Sure.
highlight?
My chapter is number 15, and it's titled Loving Yourself the Most: The Path to Wholeness. And it's a topic that's very dear to my heart and my work, in that I have always, because I'm so empathic, I've always felt other people's feelings so strongly. And it's been very hard for me to find my own center around others. And so I've lived a life of putting everyone else first and helping everybody else to feel okay so that I could feel okay. And this story is a very personal story around my marriage and raising 5 children and being a mother who has struggled with with just knowing who I am and advocating for myself first and then putting others second. And so I've learned so much about how not to do that in my life. And this book is and this chapter is just a reflection, I guess, on that experience and the wisdom I gained through living through that, and now how I would do it differently, really, how I would put myself first if I had a chance to go back and do it over. And hopefully to inspire other people, especially mothers who are so, giving and in the trenches every day, just wanting the best for their kids, but sometimes forget that they're really important too, and their well-being is so important. So um, that's what I spoke to in this book.
Yeah, I can totally relate to your story that I myself has made decisions based on the needs of my children instead of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And and learning to love ourselves is just so important. And I think
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, before we learn how to love ourselves truly, we can never be able to love the others completely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So I thank you so much for writing this book. I'm so looking forward to read it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we will leave the link of the book in the description box, and so you can find her book in Amazon. And anything else you want to add, Kimberly, before we close? And I think it's such emotional episode that we are doing here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm just always so grateful to have the opportunity to speak on this subject and to plant seeds, and hopefully they will spread around the world so that we will all start to come together, and move forward in a way that feels more joyful. And we have to address the painful parts so that we can feel them and release them and let them go. And then that's when we find the joy. And I'm just excited to work with anyone who is ready to do that work. You can find me at lunamatri.com for sessions, and I would be so honored and thrilled to do that with anyone who's ready.
Yeah, and you can find her link in the description box as well. So, and what to say? Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. And it is an honor to do an episode like that. And my heart is singing, which is very
Mine
good.
too.
And yes, so thank you everyone for joining us, Akata and Kimberly. See you next time. Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.